Peter Andre is the most talked about celebrity in Britain.
The feeling I have tonight is a bit of excitement and apprehension.
From my knowledge of him, he actually is a much more sensitive character than people realise. And I suspect he'll get pretty emotional tonight.
He's going to ask me why my marriage ended.
I want to get to the truth. I want to pin him down and find out exactly what happened. Peter Andre suffered from depression. He's been in psychiatric clinics. And he married and divorced Katie Price. There's a lot to talk about.
No holds barred? Pretty much.
You know why I'm smiling?
What?
I'm smiling because this is how many years now? 3 years now that we've been talking about this.
Yeah, why have you finally capitulated? Because you've said no so many times.
I think at the time, when you first approached me, I remember it very well. I was going through a very traumatic time. And I was a bit concerned that if you started from the beginning, you would have got to a point, which was the time I was going through, and that's how the show would have ended. And I didn't want it to end on a negative. So I think now coming back, 3 years later, there's more to talk about. It means we can end on a positive, and that's what I want. You know, you sort of want to rise from the ashes a little bit.
Do you still feel quite raw and emotional about stuff that's gone on?
There's a lot of things that will remain raw for a long time. That's life.
Here is an amazing statistic about you, Peter Andre. In the last 5 years, your name has appeared in British newspapers more often than the Pope and Nelson Mandela. What it said to me was, you've led your life in this kind of absurd goldfish bowl.
I live in a pretty awesome goldfish bowl, though. I really do. I mean, my life's incredible, you know. I have an incredible family. My kids are incredible. I've got 3 children, all 3 completely different personalities. And I have that in my life. So my goldfish bowl is pretty cool. Yes, people look in the glass, but so what, you know?
Well, you say so what, but your reality shows have been on air for 110 hours, which is almost an entire year of Coronation Street.
I know. So, and probably just as many tears.
And probably just as many dramas, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, your life is a bit of a soap opera, isn't it? Do you ever crave that moment when you wake up and wish you could just lead a perfectly normal, anonymous life?
If I really get bored of it, I get on a plane, I go somewhere. I'm telling you, if I went to Kazakhstan, nobody's going to know me.
See, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm telling you.
I think somebody would pop out from behind one of those hills and go, "You Katie Price husband?"
No, I'm not.
You say, "No, I'm not." You separated from Katie Price in May 2009. You have 2 children together, Junior and Princess, and a stepson, Harvey.
Yes.
How are things between you now? Because everybody wants to know the truth.
The simplest way I can say it is we're amicable for the children, and that's the truth.
What does amicable mean?
It means, hi, would you like to speak to the kids? Yes, I'd like to speak to the kids. That's it. That's it. Oh, goodbye sometimes, obviously.
No, how are you?
Sorry?
No, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Do you get to see the kids as much as you'd like to?
I think any parent in their right mind would like to see their children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so of course not. But I have them exactly half the time, and for me, that's incredible.
Are things better with Katie than they were since you split? What's the truth?
There's good days and there's bad days,
I think a lot of people, though, when you married, I mean, I watched you 2 get married, and although it seemed a big circus, underneath it, I've always thought that you were perfect for her.
Yeah.
I was pretty sad for her when it all ended.
You know what? What you do need to know is that while I was with that woman, I loved her more than I ever loved anybody in my life. And I genuinely, 100% mean that. It was a barrier that had broken down that I'd never broken down with anyone before and anyone since. And the reason why is because, apart from loving the person, she was accepted by my family. And when someone's accepted by your family, the final barriers go down. So I opened up like I never opened up before. I mean,
do you still love Katie?
As the mother of my children, yes.
That wasn't the question.
That is a good answer. That's a good answer. I'm sorry.
But it's not the answer to the question. It seems to me like there's a lot of unfinished business, that whatever's gone down, there's still a love there underneath it.
I'm sorry, but that's not true. Business is finished. Finished a long time ago. But the thing is, she is the mother of my children, and for that reason, there's a love that's there constantly. You don't touch that side of the love. That's there. Have I ever gotten over the situation? Being that my kids are from a broken home, being that I'm not in a complete family unit? No. Am I over the person? That surprised me, how quick that happened. I mean, I have bad days, but not because of her, but of the situation.
So, Pete, you've had your ups and downs, but let's go back and find out how you became one of Britain's most talked about celebrities. Peter Andre lives his life in the spotlight.
It's go, 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 go. He is constantly on a treadmill of media attention.
Actually, trying to find a magazine that hasn't got Peter Andre is impossible.
He's become a sort of a modern-day tabloid hero, hasn't he? You can't move for him.
The young girls want to be with him, the older girls want to mother him, and the blokes want to be him.
And he's just a very handsome man.
Back in the 90s, he was as famous for his abdominal muscles as his musical talent.
If you were a guy watching that video, you probably thought that Pete was a bit of a plonker because it was all oily, wet. But is he a Chippendale? Is he a singer? You know, what is he? But he was out and out trying to appeal to the female teen market, and boy did he, big time.
It was constantly about his abs and his sex appeal, and people shout, scream, just want to touch him.
For a time, Peter was riding high in the charts, but by the end of the 90s, Britain had fallen out of love with him, and the hits had dried up.
Pete was saying, you know what, I think they were just starting to have enough of Peter Andre with the abs.
I'm a celebrity! Get me out of here!
But in 2004, Peter was back. He'd signed up to spend 2 weeks in the Australian jungle on ITV's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Bush rats.
Ah, no problem. Lovely.
Really? Really? Hello, baby. OK.
When I heard Pete was going into the jungle, it made me smile because I just thought, brilliant. That's great, because people will get to see how lovely he is. I didn't anticipate what came next.
Well, is the actual proper, like, connection between you two? Because I see something's going on here.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Yeah, yeah.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away.
She's cool. She's all right.
Wonder this time.
Millions watched as he fell in love with Katie Price, a.k.a. Jordan.
The fact is we care for each other now. Can everyone kiss our ass?
We sat by the campfire and I could see a real twinkle in his eye. He was falling in love with Katie, but not with Jordan.
We were so involved in it, we were grasped by it all, like most of the nation was.
When he came out, the attention was incredible. And we all knew every movement of this relationship.
In 2005, the happy couple tied the knot. Over the next few years, Peter and Katie were never out of the limelight. But in 2009, cracks in the relationship began to show.
You know, we have the odd argument and stuff.
The odd argument.
Because we're together all the time, he's my punch bag, so if I wake up in a bad mood, he gets it.
They were bickering a lot. I think there'd been a lot of stories in the paper that they weren't getting on brilliantly. So I think the writing was on the wall.
In May 2009, the pair split when Pete decided to walk away from the marriage after a frenzy of tabloid speculation.
The whole nation watching you and commenting on it and talking about it, and some laughing about it, some saying it's another publicity stunt. I mean, yeah, it's hard.
This was Katie and Peter, the final chapter.
For him to walk away from his wife and leave the family unit was pretty much the biggest decision he was ever going to make.
So I suppose the obvious question is, why? Why did you do that?
Why did I do what?
Why did you leave? I mean, for you, as your brother says, to leave the family home, leave your children, there must have been a very compelling reason.
There was a very compelling reason.
What was it?
You know, Piers, that I'm not going to say it. You know I've always said I don't need to come and say it. One day, my kids are going to ask me questions. They are. They're going to come up to me. They ask me now. But when the right time, I don't think me sitting on national TV saying something is really the right way to do it. You know, it's kind of weird that it still felt quite raw watching that. I sort of turned away. I wasn't, you know, it's a shame because...
Well, you didn't want it to end, did you?
Of course I didn't.
I mean, when I interviewed Katie,
yeah,
and I said to her, why did you split? She said because of press photographs of her appearing drunk and flirting with men in a nightclub. And I thought...
You believe that?
I thought that's not why you split.
Exactly. So that's all you need to know. Have you got kids?
Yeah.
Right. Do you think it's right that I sit here and I tell the nation and that my kids who can now see TV and watch and listen, do you think it's right that I say those things?
Well,
I don't think it's... Would you do it?
I'm not sure. You see, I haven't lived my life in the goldfish bowl that you have. I would throw it back at you. Look, you sold your wedding for nearly £2 million. When you do that, you kind of sign up to a deal with the public. Look, I'm going to make loads of money out of my wedding, my marriage, my personal life. But then when it comes to the end of that wedding, I feel no obligation to tell you what happened. And I'm not sure you can do that.
I'll tell you what, had I come and said something that you wanted me to say, there'd be a lot more people disappointed with me than me not saying anything at all. And the people...
Why do you say that?
And I'm not trying to throw it back to them again, but the ones that are going to be the proudest are the little ones. They're going to hear things. They're going to hear loads of things. They come and ask me things all the time. And I just say, I try and divert their attention to something else. And we go, because when the time's right, they're going to want to know things that I might have to answer. Now, you could say, well, there's been things in the press that you've said this about your ex and she said this about you.
Yeah.
But being a journalist, you know you can't believe everything you read. A lot of times things are written and you can always dismiss it when the kids get older and go...
Let me deal with some of the theories that were put out there to see if you can answer some of these, right? One was that Katie had refused to have sex with you for 2 years.
We had good times and bad times. Next.
You wanted to move to America, but she didn't.
That's not true. I love America, by the way, and my kids love America.
Is it true you were fed up with her bullying and constant put-downs, the kind of thing that we saw on that interview? Because you looked uncomfortable.
I didn't... There was certain things I didn't like, but then I'm sure there were certain things I did that she didn't like.
Does Katie know the real reason you left? Does Katie know?
Absolutely.
But I suppose the more important thing for me and her is, are you 100% certain that whatever made you leave was exactly as you thought? Is there absolutely not a shred of doubt in your mind that you left for the right reason, that whatever it was happened?
I left for the right reasons, and is it ever right to have a broken family? No. But I left for the reasons that I know.
And you're certain?
Yes.
You've never had any doubt?
Never. I was huddled up in a corner in the room, and I was shaking like I've never shaken before, and it was to me, that was it. That was the start of the end for me.
Let me take you to what I think was the most extraordinary moment in your career. There he is, the Peter Andre action doll.
If you look back at the days of New Kids on the Block and all those groups, this was the thing, you know, the dolls.
Well, here's good news for you. We tried to get one on eBay, OK? Yours go for £25.
Get out.
That is more than Barack Obama and Arnold Schwarzenegger. True.
£25.
£25 for a little Peter Andre action doll. Probably had the real thing for 20. You were 17 when you lost your virginity, is that right?
Oh, dude, my parents. Mum and Dad just talk about something
Well, you had talked about this before.
Yeah, I know, but they weren't here. They live in Australia.
Mum, do you know about this?
Mum,
No,
don't
you
worry. Virgin olive oil, Mum. Virgin olive For the cooking, it's fantastic.
The lucky lady, I use the word lucky advisedly, obviously, Melanie. Whatever happened to her?
Ah, poor thing. We were teenagers. I was 17 when that happened. I tried to act so cool. I tried to act so cool. I was like, okay, at that time, it was over pretty quick because I was young, you know what I mean? No, I was. My brother Danny used to make fun of me all the time. He used to call me Mr. Minute when I was a kid, when I was a lot younger. Because we had these key things, like in Australia, where you go and get your keys done, and they call it Mr. Minute because they get your key cut in a minute. So I went home.
You would get your keys cut in a minute?
It's true, isn't it, Daddy? He used to call me Mr. Minute, so I started training my mind. Sorry, Mum and Dad. I started training my mind that I could last for ages, and then I ended up... It's terrible. I mean, Kate used to complain about it.
Really?
Yes.
Was she just worn out? Was that the problem?
No.
Let's turn to your technique with the ladies, and I'm quoting from your own autobiography.
It's gone.
At the height of your mayhem with women, you said, and I quote from your own book, I'd lock myself in a room with a girl and have sex for days.
No.
I created my own den with dim lighting, champagne, music.
Where was that from?
I decked my bed out with black satin sheets and pillows.
I went through a stage where I was a bit naughty. You know, I went through that stage. When you get into the industry, they say it's sex, drugs and rock and roll. And I didn't like the drugs and I didn't like the rock and roll. So I did have my vices and I enjoyed it.
And how many women are we talking?
I don't know. Do you know what? I was just foolish, I was young, I was silly.
Peter, you've enjoyed fame and fortune, but it hasn't always been an easy ride for you. Peter Andre was born in London to Greek Cypriot parents Sava and Tia. When he was 6, Peter and his family emigrated to Australia for a better life. But Peter had trouble settling in.
He used to come home from school in an absolute mess sometimes, from being pushed around and bullied and being picked on for being foreign. He was English in one and he was Greek in another, so he kind of copped it from both sides.
Peter's escape was his love of music and performing.
We'd all be sitting down watching TV and Peter just burst into the living room and start dancing and carrying on. And
yeah, he showed from when he was very young that that's what he wanted to do.
Peter was given the chance to shine on talent show New Faces.
When I had you to myself, I didn't want you around. Those pretty faces, loves, I made you stand out in the crowd.
Well, we all burst into tears when he won out.
I was really surprised, yes.
New Faces was the springboard that made Peter a big star in Australia. Then he hit the UK with Mysterious Girl.
One kiss alone, I make me heart go boom. Mysterious girl, I wanna get close to you.
Bang. Peter Andre Mania was born.
Peter's success continued with 2 #1 singles, a #1 album, and a tour that sold out in a single day.
Once Peter had felt like he'd reached a certain level here, in his head he wanted to take that to America.
He became pretty obsessed with the whole American thing. I want to break America, I want to dress American, and he thought that, you know, the grass was greener on the other side.
But it turned out that on both sides of the Atlantic, the magic had gone. His record sales in the UK took a nosedive.
He was reaching height after height after height, and it was his first of his knockbacks.
If I sat there and I saw this guy on TV always taking his shirt off, I'd start thinking, oh, come on, man, do you do anything else? I really would.
He took it as a sign of failure. He hit severe depression, and to the point that he got admitted to a psychiatric clinic in America. He was having nervous breakdowns, 10, 15 of them a day. He was too scared to cross a bridge. He was too scared to cross the road. He was too scared to go out in public.
I didn't know if it was going to be like that for the rest of his life, if he was going to be in and out of these places, you know, very, very difficult times.
How did you feel when you had your first panic attack?
You think you're going to die.
Just describe it for me.
They last for about 25 minutes, the actual attack, and you start hyperventilating, your heart's beating at an incredible rate, your hands go sweaty, your jaw sometimes locks. On a severe one, your body goes into shock, and your hands... I've had it where your jaw completely locks, and my hands lock.
It's terrifying.
They last for 25 minutes, where in that time you think you're going to die. The build-up to the panic attack takes a long time. I mean, you could be feeling wrong all day, and then it hits you. Now, what happens is, problem is a lot of times, you panic about having a panic attack, and this is what a lot of people suffer with. It happened for 2 years. It was like that every day. I used to come downstairs in the morning, and Mum would say, "How are you?" And I'd go, "I'm fine. I'll be great." And I'd have to grab my drink and go straight back in my bedroom, and I was a mess, a mess.
What do you think was causing it?
I got signed up at 16. There was a lot of stuff that happened in Australia when I was in my late teens, early 20s. There were a lot of ethnic gangs in Sydney, a lot of ethnic gangs. And I started one night getting these really bad calls in the middle of the night. Now, back then, you didn't change your... You had a telephone, your mobile, when they first came out. You didn't change your number. It wasn't as easy as, like, I'll just go change my number. I used to get these threats, these horrible threats. I mean, people telling me what they were going to do to me, reading out my address, where my mum and dad lived, saying things that were going to happen to mum and dad. I used to choke, you know. Not long after that, I went to Sydney, and I went out to a nightclub. This kid, I remember he took me into the bathroom. There was about 5 of them, and he grabbed me and he put his hand up to and he pulled out a knife, and he just had it there, and he was digging it in. And he was going, you know, give me a reason why I shouldn't, you know, whatever, whatever. And he kept flicking me with his knife. And I was petrified, you know, like any guy would be, I guess, anyone would be. So I started becoming a bit of a recluse. I wouldn't go anywhere. I didn't want to go out, especially in Sydney, mate. I'm 38, nearly 17 years later, I will not go out to a nightclub in Sydney, even now.
So you mean this prompts this endless stream of panic attacks, and it culminates in you going to a psychiatric hospital? I mean, that is pretty
It didn't happen
serious.
until years later, the panic attacks, but I really have a feeling...
You feel that triggered it?
I think that was my trigger.
Tell me about the trip to the hospital, because that's a big stage further, isn't it?
I remember something happened. Me and Mum and Dad owned a beach resort in Australia. That night was my first panic attack. I'll never forget it. I was so scared beyond belief, and there was no one in the resort. And my dad called the brothers and said, "You better come home. Something's wrong with Pete." And they came home, and I was huddled up in a corner in the room, and I was shaking like I've never shaken before. And it was, to me, that was it. That was the start of the end for me. I never ever saw that things were ever going to get better. And
did you feel suicidal?
You know, at the start I didn't, but I went through a stage where I was at rock bottom. I was at really rock bottom.
Did you ever try and kill yourself?
No, but I went to New York. Mum and Dad thought that I was going to go to... They thought I was going to America to record.
What was the truth?
If a breakup of a marriage won't make you cry, a panic attack will. Anyway, what happened was, well, I went to New York to get help because
why is this so emotional for you? What memories is it bringing back?
You know, I think that's what hurts the most about what went wrong a few years ago. I think that's what hurts the most because I'd just come through the worst time of my life. I'm not blaming anybody, okay? But when I finally found happiness, it was the first time I'd felt, you know, felt good. I felt good about everything in life, you know.
And then it got wrenched away.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I've never been able to... I've moved on in leaps and bounds in one way, but in another way...
Did it bring you the security?
I'm still a bit tortured inside, you know, like from...
I can tell. I mean, this is obviously a brutal time in your life. So then you find what you think is security.
Well, I went to New York. I saw all sorts of psychiatrists, and one said, he said, you need to be admitted. Not because he thought I was a danger to anybody, but he thought I was a danger to myself. So he put me in this ward. It was this horrible place. I remember walking in there, and I felt worse walking in there than I did before. You know, when you walk in, you feel safe because the doctors... I was like, this is not me. I don't belong here. I've never experienced anything like it. Just to forward 15 years now, the one thing about panic attacks is don't ever get too cocky and think, oh, I'm, you know, 100%, because unfortunately, you know, your mind does play a lot of games, but it still taps you on the shoulder. Seeing my children with another man, it killed me.
Let's go to 2004, the comeback. I'm a Celebrity. Katie Price was in the jungle. It was like a holiday romance being carried out in front of millions of people.
When I went to Australia, the night before you meet everyone, she was dressed in this polo neck, her hair was braided, she had no makeup, she was dressed very nice. I met her and she was like, hi, how are you? And she was very stern with her handshake, and I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And I was like, is that same girl? You know, she reminded me of Bo Derek in 10, I remember. You know. Then I met Harvey. And I was like, oh my God, this kid's adorable.
You had 2 children yourself with Kate, Junior and then Princess Tiami.
Yeah.
Were they very happy times for you? Because there were lots of reports that Kate had bad postnatal depression.
Yeah, she did have very, very bad postnatal depression with Junior, and again, it's a subject I don't really like to talk about much because I don't want Junior to think something was wrong with Ma, you know what I mean? But they were very, very difficult times. But you got to think, I've just been given the greatest gift in the world. My son, like, he's there. I'm the happiest guy you could ever think. I'm like, you know, this is heaven for me.
Peter, after the birth of your first child, the scene was set for the fairy tale wedding. When Peter married Katie in 2005, no expense was spared.
It was going to be over the top. That's the way Kate was and Pete was. Swarovski crystal waistcoats and the dress and the pink carriage. It was just mental.
For the wedding, it was fantastic. It was really fantastic.
As their married life began, so did a whole string of reality TV shows, starring the happy couple, their children Junior and Princess, and Katie's son Harvey.
With Pete and Kate, the cameras were there for pretty much most of their life. Of course, that was their job, which showed their life as a married couple, which showed the children when they were born, which showed the children as they were growing up.
But by 2009, the reality was that Peter and Katie's relationship had begun to hit the rocks. And in May of that year, their problems reached crisis point.
Next, we have the award for Best On-Screen Partnership. This is for the partnership that best portrays a real-life couple and the everyday things that couples do. Laugh and argue.
To have a row in a marriage is bad enough. Far better, in my view, if it's done in private.
Even though a normal person at home might think, oh, it's just an argument or it's a disagreement, I know how much of it was affecting Pete.
To present it, a couple who first met on I'm a Celebrity and do a fair bit of arguing themselves, but in a loving, romantic kind of a way. Please welcome Katie Price and Peter Andre.
2 days after this appearance at the British Soap Awards, the King and Queen of reality TV issued a statement saying they were splitting. It was Peter's decision to do so. Just over 2 months after the split, Katie met cage fighter Alex Reid, who moved into the marital home and the bed she'd shared with Peter.
The most difficult thing for him was to know that the kids were being introduced to another man. That was the hard thing for him. It wasn't just hard, it was devastating.
There must have been a period there where he was wondering to himself, am I no longer going to be these kids' dad, and is Alex going to be their dad all of a sudden, and I'm a stranger?
His kids would go home, and there's another man there in place of him.
I mean, you can barely look at that. How did it make you feel when you first realised what was going on?
I remember the first look, this, and I really hope it doesn't sound like I'm wanting anyone to go, oh, on this particular bit, but it was my first panic attack in years, not the day that I heard she was with somebody or whatever. It was the first day I saw there was a family photo of all of them playing in the park, and it killed me. I mean, it was like, you didn't just get stabbed in the heart, it got twisted and it got lifted. That was it. That was the moment I broke like I've never broken. Seeing my children with another man, which, look, I know is going to happen now, and, you know, but then, that moment, that was the worst moment.
What did you physically do?
That night I woke up about 2 in the morning, I think it was, and I felt like I felt like I'd been hit on the head with a hammer. It was a horrible feeling. And I was going to go downstairs to get Mike to say, I've got to go to the hospital, something's wrong. It felt like the pains I was getting when I had meningitis. It was that same pain in the head. And just like that, I blanked out. I woke up hours later, I had blood all over my face. I'd obviously hit something on the way down. And I woke up and I just kept looking up and I kept thinking, what's going on? And I started to panic. I mean, horrible. It was like back in the day. I think seeing somebody with my kids opened up a new emotion I didn't even know existed. Now, I've come to terms with things now. As you see, I haven't got emotional about it. I've come to terms with things. There are things I agree with and things I don't agree with. But
has it been helped by the fact that he's off the scene, that guy now? If you're honest. Probably.
No, I don't think it's him.
Could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody, you know. I don't have a problem with that guy. He might have been a really nice guy. How do I know?
Did you ever talk to him?
I never met the guy, no.
Never talked to him?
Never. No, well, we had a very, very big argument on the phone one night. Kate and I had a row, and do you know, now in hindsight, I don't blame the guy, okay? I don't blame him that he didn't let me speak to them. I think it was because maybe his situation he was protecting. I don't know. But another man,
he had no right to stop
another man not letting me speak to my kids, did it again. So at that time, things were tough. But I have to say, now, if I met the guy, I would not have a bad word to say about him. I don't know the man. He might be a really nice bloke. I met the other fella.
Go on, try and remember his name.
No, I met him.
What's his name?
Leonardo Barabardo. We went to a...
He's Leandro, isn't he? Not Leonardo.
We went to a school for junior sports day. Went over, I shook his hand. I've got to be honest with you, I thought, he seems like a really nice bloke, you know. I remember texting her. She texted me to say, thank you so much for coming over. I really appreciate what you did, because it wasn't that hard, was it? And I just said to her, listen, I've got to be honest with you. If this guy treats you right, and he treats the children right, go for it.
Do you think she wanted to hear...
I don't know. But what I do know...
You didn't hear what I was about to say?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
You're going.
Huh?
You're going.
Where am I going?
I don't know. Where are you going?
Where do you think I'm going?
I'm going for my water.
Well, where I was going was to say that, do you think that what she really wanted you to say was, stop going out with all these other guys, let's get back together?
I don't know, but...
You think that, don't you?
I think that in Kate's mind, there's unfinished business. And I'm not being disrespectful in saying, in my mind, business finished ages ago. So I mean, I'm not saying that she thinks it right now.
Well, she and Leandro have split up.
Yeah, I'm not saying she thinks it right this minute. I don't know.
But she is single again. Are you single?
I am single, yeah. It's never, ever, it will never happen. You know, no, it's not, I'm not being disrespectful and I'm not being mean by saying that.
But do you think she'd like it to?
No, I don't know what she thinks.
But do you think one of the problems that she's had with Alex, with Leandro and so on, is that actually underneath it all, she feels terrible about what happened with you, she knows what she lost now, and she'd give anything to get you back?
The thing is, for me...
Do you feel that?
Have I felt it sometimes? Yes. Do I feel it right this minute? No, because I don't know. What?
Did she ever try and contact you?
There's been times where we've spoken, but...
Did she text you and all that kind of thing?
I won't go into personal stuff, but there's been, you know, there's been times where I've got the gist of what's going on. I've always been straight about how I feel, but I am one of these people, though, I have to say, that if I'm gone, I'm gone. As much as it killed me to do it, it's done, you know what I mean?
When I interviewed Kate,
yeah,
she said that 8 weeks before you split up, she miscarried.
Yeah.
So the timing, obviously, to many people, when she said that, seemed harsh.
I'm happy to take blames for a lot of stuff. I'm happy to take a blame, but let me just tell you something. That child that had gone was mine too, you know. I suffered that too.
I know I've asked you this, but now we've been through the whole thing. What are your real feelings towards her? 3 years on now.
I've been taught a very, very, very valuable lesson and a saying that sticks to me. Harbouring anger and bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You can't harbour that bitterness. You can't harbour that anger. You've got to let it go. You've got to, because it's gone. And you keep harbouring it, you're looking back. I've got to look ahead.
Life moves on.
Life moves on.
You were romantically linked with your backing dancer, Christina McMillan.
Yeah, lovely girl.
Did you go out with her?
Well, it depends what you mean.
Are you going out with Christina? Do you ever feel frustrated that all the focus on marriage, reality television, photo shoots, tabloids, has never allowed you to get the kind of musical credibility that I suspect when you started out you really craved?
I've been criticised for the music, but I have released some shockers. Insane was a pretty bad song. Yeah, I know radio won't play my music, whatever. And some people looking are going to go, yeah, because your music's crap. Other people are going to turn around and go, but you have had radio play. Mysterious Girl was played to death. You know, you had this song that was played and that. I can't complain.
You've written some great pop songs.
Yeah.
Anyone who says otherwise doesn't understand what pop is. You know, if you've had 3 #1 singles, you don't get that if you're no good at writing pop songs.
I'm going to say something now that is going to make me sound silly, but I'm a big believer in if you can see it here, you can hold it here. I believe in visualising. I've always visualised my career and I've always got what I wanted. This is going to come back to bite me maybe in 2 years. No record, I'm not signed to anybody. I haven't got any plans of when I'm going to write or whatever, but I'm telling you, in 2 years, I will do Wembley Stadium. On my own. Yes, I do.
With a high-profile marriage behind you, a new chapter in your life was about to unfold. After 5 years of being one half of a showbiz couple, Peter Andre had to go it alone.
Yes! What does that say?
Happy birthday.
I know when he split up with Kate, the way the public responded and the support he felt he had meant an awful lot to him.
As he came to terms with his new life as a single dad, Peter's music was full of the pain of the breakup.
Best way to escape. His addiction cost him everything. Guess he thought it'd help him hide the pain.
But 2 years on, with the past well and truly behind him, Peter's looking to the future with a new album and a nationwide tour.
How you guys doing? No one, not just any old person, can book out the O2 and do a concert. You can't just do that. Pete can.
Music will always be Pete's #1 passion and love. He started off as performing and singing, and if there's one thing he could do for the rest of his life, that would be it.
And of course, being Peter Andre, his life continues to unfold via his reality shows. Peter's also branched out into presenting.
I'm Kate Thornton, and this, of course.
Do you know, 12 years ago we worked together. 12
We did,
years
yeah,
ago.
that's the last
Smash
time.
hits. And now we're presenting this live.
And as he nears 40, the man with the world's most famous amp still has no trouble pulling in hordes of female fans.
All of my friends phone up going, oh my God, you're working with Peter Andre. I mean, his appeal, his reach is out of control.
Peter's a regular team captain on game show Odd One In.
Please, meet our celebrity teams. It's Jason Manford and Peter Andre. As soon as I mention Peter's name, they just go wild. All the women want to kiss him. It's extraordinary. It's great.
That was brilliant.
So if he's such a big hit with the ladies, the big question remains, will Peter be able to find love again?
I really, really, really want him to find someone and settle down. I think it's been enough time now.
Although the children are very happy, I can see them very happy coming here. And I hope are happy when they are with their mum, but eventually, yes, a nice family arrangement would be very nice.
It's the only thing now that's missing in my brother's life is the right partner, the soulmate next to him.
I'm very happy to see another daughter-in-law in the family.
There's no way on earth that guy is going to spend the rest of his life single. No way.
But as I always say to my children, you are allowed to make one mistake, don't repeat it. Make a new one.
He's quite a smart guy, your dad, isn't he?
He's very good. He tells worse jokes than me, which is pretty hard to beat. Let's do some copies.
So, when you say you're single, are you dating at all?
Yes, I get to know somebody and it doesn't always work out. I think I have this thing about, I've got these barriers, and I think...
I mean, you were romantically linked with your backing dancer, Christina McMillan.
Yeah, lovely girl.
Did you go out with her?
What do you mean?
Did you go out with her?
Well, out the door. No, we were seeing each other.
You dated her?
Yes, but...
But you're not anymore?
No, we're very close, though, and, you know, you never know what happens in the future. But the thing is, well, it depends what you mean. I mean, I am...
I didn't think it was a complicated question. I mean, are you going out with Christina?
A Greek what? No, I'm single, but I'm definitely really scared to get serious with anybody.
Do you feel lonely at all now?
Sometimes, yeah. You know, it's kind of weird because when at first, when I used to have the gap when the kids had got home and it was just me on my own, I used to crumble. You know, when people in their life and they think that something's missing, and it could be faith, it could be a religion. You know, there's a gap that's just not there. That's empty. I just can't fill it. And I know it will happen eventually.
Well, I've got something to fill your void. I've never done this before, but I've got a special present for you for being such a good guest. And I'd like you to open this now. This will fill the void. This is for you, the perfect dream present.
You know...
To fill the gap in your life.
Can I just say...
Someone you can truly love.
I know, I'm looking, and I've got to say something. in every part of my heart, I wanted something to be given to me that was personal, that meant something.
That you could love forever.
And that I could love forever. Thank you.
God, I wish I looked like that. It's been a pleasure. I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much. Peter Andre. Thank you. Peter Andre is the most talked about celebrity in Britain.
The feeling I have tonight is a bit of excitement and apprehension.
From my knowledge of him, he actually is a much more sensitive character than people realise. And I suspect he'll get pretty emotional tonight.
He's going to ask me why my marriage ended.
I want to get to the truth. I want to pin him down and find out exactly what happened. Peter Andre suffered from depression. He's been in psychiatric clinics. And he married and divorced Katie Price. There's a lot to talk about.
No holds barred? Pretty much. I'm smiling.
Why?
I'm smiling because this is how many years now? 3 years now that we've been talking about this.
Yeah, why have you finally capitulated? Because you said no so many times.
I think at the time, when you first approached me, I remember it very well. I was going through a very traumatic time. And I was a bit concerned that if you started from the beginning, you would have got to a point, which was the time I was going through, and that's how the show would have ended. And I didn't want it to end on a negative. So I think now coming back, 3 years later, there's more to talk about. It means we can end on a positive, and that's what I want. You know, you sort of want to rise from the ashes a little bit.
Do you still feel quite raw and emotional about stuff that's gone on?
There's a lot of things that will remain raw for a long time. That's life.
Here is an amazing statistic about you, Peter Andre. In the last 5 years, your name has appeared in British newspapers more often than the Pope and Nelson Mandela. What it said to me was, you've led your life in this kind of absurd goldfish bowl.
I live in a pretty awesome goldfish bowl, though. I really do. I mean, my life's incredible, you know. I have an incredible family. My kids are incredible. I've got 3 children, all 3 completely different personalities. And I have that in my life. So my goldfish bowl is pretty cool. Yes, people look in the glass, but so what, you know?
Well, you say so what, but your reality shows have been on air for 110 hours, which is almost an entire year of Coronation Street.
I know. So, and probably just as many tears.
And probably just as many dramas, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, your life is a bit of a soap opera, isn't it? Do you ever crave that moment when you wake up and wish you could just lead a perfectly normal, anonymous life?
If I really get bored of it, I get on a plane, I go somewhere. I'm telling you, if I went to Kazakhstan, nobody's going to know me.
See, I'm not so sure about that.
I'm telling you.
I think somebody would pop out from behind one of those hills and go, "You Katie Price husband?"
No, I'm not.
You say, "No, I'm not." You separated from Katie Price in May 2009. You have 2 children together, Junior and Princess, and a stepson, Harvey.
Yes.
How are things between you now? Because everybody wants to know the truth.
The simplest way I can say it is we're amicable for the children, and that's the truth.
What does amicable mean?
It means, hi, would you like to speak to the kids? Yes, I'd like to speak to the kids. That's it. That's it. Oh, goodbye sometimes, obviously.
No, how are you?
Sorry?
No, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Do you get to see the kids as much as you'd like to?
I think any parent in their right mind would like to see their children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so of course not. But I have them exactly half the time, and for me, that's incredible.
Are things better with Katie than they were since you split? What's the truth?
There's good days and there's bad days,
I think a lot of people, though, when you married, I mean, I watched you two get married, and although it seemed a big circus, underneath it, I've always thought that you were perfect for it.
Yeah.
I was pretty sad for